Hey, Expedite, you're now rocking with your boy KOR XKLL, the last son of Planet Xbox, and you're listening to Super Podshots. Hey, man, before we jump into today's show, I just want to put some schedules out there. I know a lot of you guys listen to the show, and it seems very sporadic, and it is because I never know when I'm going to be able to get everyone together or try to find time myself for my own individual podcast. So I'm going to try to make it a little bit more consistent and make it easier for you guys to catch the show. So our schedule will be like this. Super Pod Shots will be every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. That way, and it'll be live on Google Hangouts. Tick Podcast will no longer be live because I'm having issues receiving I guess you could say the back half end of the podcast coming across when recording. I'm just not getting the audio quality I want. And though it comes through great for you guys on the MP3 front, for all the listeners out there who listen through iTunes and all the other devices, it is not coming through the way I want it to. It's not giving me the quality I want. So I'm just going to go ahead and record over Skype. Now, what I will try to do is figure out a way I can get Skype to run on Hangouts, and then we can do the show lives that way. But using Google Hangouts straight up is probably not going to work any longer. So that's just one of the things that we'll be making a change. That show will release every Friday or every other Friday at 6 p.m. I haven't talked to the team about whether we'll do it every Friday or every other Friday yet, but Tick Podcast will be on Fridays at 6 p.m. Super Pod Shots will be on Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Tick UK, which is coming soon. We don't have a date for it yet, but you will get some news on that sometime this month. And the commission is to be determined. That is a multi-plat show with a lot of different hosts, a lot of different people. So I'll be working really hard to communicate with those people to try to set these things up more consistently, maybe once a month or once every other month. But we'll figure it out so that way we can have some variety on Tick Podcasts. And I know a lot of fans really appreciate that. So we're going to just jump right into today's show, man. I had a quantum break. We wound up getting it early because Tick Podcast has been working really hard. The TICGN website has been working really hard to be recognized as media. And because of that, obviously, you guys already know that we have been. So Microsoft was kind enough to send us quantum break early. We were able to review the game. Our reviewer gave it a solid score. In my opinion, I haven't played the game yet. So I don't want to sit up here and be like, I feel like the score should be higher or something like that. But he gave the score an 8.7 out of 10. Now, for the most part, what he was saying was that the game was really good. The gameplay was good. The action was good. He also stated that he felt the quality of the shows were on a level of, the old Fox shows 24 in Prison Break. Now, my understanding is that a lot of people, because initially I thought that when I saw the show, I was like, oh my God, it's like Sci-Fi Channel type stuff. But it's surprisingly, supposedly it's not. But he felt that the quality of the show was really good. I think the reason why he deducted points off of Quantum Break was that he felt that the gameplay wise was a little bit short. But he did state it was longer than the Order 1886. But he felt that it was a little bit short gameplay wise, and that he felt there should have been a horde mode because he just wanted to play more of it. So 8.7 out of 10. Now, as you guys all know, Microsoft and Remedy were very confident in the game. They released the game early to a lot of reviews, and it's just been very, very mixed. Now, overall, on Metacritic, it's hovering around a 78. And for those of you who don't care about reviews, as well as myself, because even back in the day, we didn't used to give scores. We used to just be buy, try, deny. Either the game was worth picking up or it wasn't worth picking up. Right now, I would have to say the game is absolutely worth picking up. You must pick this game up. It is going to be a game you will enjoy. At the same time, there was a lot of reviews that gave a lot of negative reviews, not more than the positive, but enough to really bring that score down. And a lot of us Xbox gamers and a lot of people who were interested in Quantum Break were very surprised by the overall reviews of the game, and it just seemed like to be all over the place. Now, I kind of was upset at the review that I had read, which gave it a 4 out of 10. It's not to say that someone didn't like the game, and gave it a bad review. That is fine, absolutely fine. I have no issue with that whatsoever. And I know some of you guys are like, well, Cal, why would you care about reviews? Who cares? All that matters is what you think. And you guys are absolutely right. But the thing is that you guys have to remember is that no matter how much as a gamer we care about the reviews, no matter how much we say it doesn't matter, what does matter is that it really affects a lot of things and a lot of people. And what I mean by that is if a game gets a poor review, even if the game sells decently, it may never get another sequel because it didn't meet the expectations of the developer, because people then turn around and decided they won't get the game. Now, I think Quantum Break is not going to meet that expectation. I think a lot of people have been anticipating this game. They've been waiting for it. I bought my game months ago. I think this game is just going to sell pretty well. I think the people who were on the fence of getting it on PC, who probably never intended to get an Xbox anyway, they may have second thoughts. But I think Xbox gamers are going to get this game, and it's going to do really well when it comes to sales for the Xbox One. And that's a good thing because this game is supposed to be a sequel. And for some of those, when you get a chance to play the game, if you feel the game is incomplete, you have to keep that in mind. This game is supposed to be a trilogy. It's a series. It's not just one game, one and done. And that came from Sam Lake himself. I remember him talking about that extensively, about the game and how he wanted to make it into a series. So they kind of left it open-ended, which is my understanding. But my issue, back to the 4 out of 10 score, and at the time when I spoke about it, I was on Twitter and I stated that I felt like maybe it's because it was, biasness towards, Microsoft exclusives and things like that. So let me retract that. I want to retract that statement. I know that some of you guys out there feel like it was biased towards Microsoft exclusives and things like that. I feel like a 4 out of 10 is way too low for a game of this caliber. Usually when you see a 4 out of 10, usually the game, there's something dramatically wrong with the game. A lot of people try to say that a 4 out of 10 is average. I don't know the last time when a 40 was average. And I got into a big debate about review scores. And it's like, people don't understand how review scores work. If you give a game a 2 out of 5, that is not a good score. That is a 40. You're talking about giving a review of something on a 100-point scale, right? When you give a game a 3 out of 5, that is a 60. A 3.5 is a 70. A 4 out of 5 is an 80. A 4.5 out of 5 is a 90, and a 5 out of 5 is 100. So when you give a game a score, don't tell me that, oh, don't worry about it, it was average. That's not average. There is nothing, there is no game that's a 5 that's average. You can't sit here and tell me that if a game came out and it was a 5 out of 10, it was a 5 out of 10, and all of a sudden, sorry guys, 1 second, my son is here. Apologies. Now, if a game came out and they said, listen, this game is a 5 out of 10, it's average, you should pick the game up. You know damn well that you're not going to spend $60 on a game that was rated 5 out of 10. It doesn't matter. Like, let's just be honest here. A casual person is going to go on reviews. The hardcore do not care. We don't care. We only care about the games. But a casual person does not invest enough time into understanding how certain things work. They only care about picking up the game and if it's rated well. It's almost like the Batman versus Superman review. A lot of people, a lot of reviewers didn't like Batman versus Superman. I enjoyed Batman vs. Superman. I didn't think it was anywhere near as bad as some of the reviewers made it out to be. I gave my opinions on it on the last episode of Tick Podcast. And what I stated was that I felt like in the beginning that I was watching two films. One was Superman, one was Batman. And it just felt like it was edited weird. It didn't feel like I was watching one world. I always felt like I was watching two different movies in the same movie. And I just felt, it felt weird. It just felt off to me. But once you get past that first, hour, that talking, that build up of the film, where they are really starting to get you to understand the reason why this conflict is starting to arise and why they wound up fighting, it turns into the actual movie. And you really like, wow, this is amazing. It's really good. And I don't want to get back into that, but the point that I'm trying to make is that when you do a review like that, as a hardcore gamer, you don't care about the review. You just go and you watch the film. You just go and you purchase the game and you play the game and then you give your own opinion of the game. This happened a lot with the Order 1886. It happened a lot with the Drive Club. A lot of people gave it poor reviews, but people still went out in droves and purchased the game. And I really hope that a lot of Xbox gamers do the same thing, that they go out in droves and they purchase the game, because I think the game deserves it. I think Remedy's a great studio, and Microsoft put a lot of time and investment into it. What's sad and disappointing about it is that they try to do something different. We always ask for innovation in games. We always try to ask for things that are different in games. And when those things arrive, as soon as we don't like it, we rip it. And then guess what? We never get it again. Like, this is the reason why developers don't take risk. They don't take risks because there's just too much to lose when you take a risk. And sometimes it works. Sometimes you get lucky with the risk and it's good. But when you don't make that risk or you don't hit that risk, a lot of people get turned off by it. The publishers get turned off by it. The developers get turned off by it. And then what winds up happening is we get just another generic third-person shooter. Now, based on our guy's review, I trust his review. He's a gamer. He's not a corporate shill. He's not somebody that's being paid. He's not somebody, and what I mean by paid is not being paid by a person, but like paid because he's getting a check. But he's someone that is genuinely a gamer and understands what it's like from a gamer's perspective. I don't know if reviewers are that way anymore. I don't. And this just has nothing to do with just Quantum Break either. It's just a lot of reviews. When you look at a lot of reviews and a lot of games we play, so many people rip Dying Light. They ripped it, and Dying Light is one of the best zombie games out on the market right now today. Right now today. You go back and look at some of the reviews for Dying Light, and you wouldn't even understand how they rated the game because the game is just that good. And that's just the reality of it. But back to the 4 out of 10. So my whole thing was that the 4 out of 10 I felt was too low. I didn't understand. I'm like, a 4 out of 10? How do you give a game a 4 out of 10? I'm looking at some of these reviews. You got 9s, 10s, 8s, 9s, 10s, 7s. But a 4 out of 10? That's just insane to me. And I know that's one person's opinion, but then I had to question that person's judgment. And I hate to question people's judgment. And as Xbox gamers, a lot of us have been throwing the word bias around. And it's the truth. We look at it when something doesn't go our way. We kind of look at what was written or what's out there and we say, oh, that was bias. And sometimes it's just not bias. Sometimes it's a genuine opinion about the Xbox. Listen, the Xbox is not perfect. We all know that. We get that. But sometimes we feel like it doesn't get a fair shake. And I don't think that the person who reviewed this game that gave it a 4 out of 10 really gave the game a fair shake. That's how I feel. Now, I could get the game coming up, I believe, what is today? The 2nd, coming up on Tuesday, and I could play the game, and I could be like, wow, this game is good, but it's not what I thought it was going to be, and things like that. But at the same time, I don't know if I would go, just looking at the game and understanding the pedigree that Remedy have, I don't know if I would go as low as a 4 out of 10. I had someone talk to me about Destiny and talked about Call of Duty. And it's funny because they were like, oh, I hate Destiny. Like if I review Destiny, I would give it a 2 out of 5 or a 4 out of 10. And I'm like, really? He said, yeah, because I hate it that much. That's not bias because you hate something. Like, are you not judging the game based on its own merit? Like, okay, you don't like the game. That's fine. But are you judging the game based on what it accomplishes? If you don't like the game because you can't get into the story, or you don't like the game because you're not good at it, that's one thing. Okay. There's another if the game is broken. Does the shooting mechanics work? How is it in comparison to its predecessors? How deep is the story? Is the game long enough? What are the details between, or shall I say, what is the community built on? How is the online considered? Like, what are you considering to automatically give a game such a low score? Then someone else talked about Call of Duty and said, I hate Call of Duties. I hate all Call of Duties. If I did a review for Call of Duty because I don't like Call of Duty, I would probably give it a low score. I'm just like, that's being biased. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you're reviewing something you don't even care for. You don't even like the game. You don't. And my thing is, it is not to say you give it to somebody who does like the game, but at least somebody who does like the game probably has played enough to compare it to its predecessors, compare it to things in the same genre, and able to formulate a solid opinion in those comparisons. Quantum Break is really in a class by itself. It's not in the same realm as Uncharted, so it's kind of hard to compare it in that way. But it's just weird that people nitpick at certain things just to bring down the score. And some of the nitpicks is just crazy because in one aspect, someone may hate something, and in another aspect, someone may love something. And the range of these reviews were just so wide from like 4 all the way up to 10 out of 10s. It's just crazy. So I'm excited for the game. I can't wait to play it. I'm looking forward to, everything that's being presented. And for those of you guys out there who don't know how it's supposed to work, there's supposed to be gameplay. You have in-game cutscenes, and then there'll be the regular TV show, which is like 4 episodes at 22 minutes apiece. My understanding is that the gameplay per chapter is like chapter 1 to chapter 1.2 is about an hour per chapter, or maybe more per chapter. So it's supposed to be about 8 to 10 hours, depending on how you play for single player. Some people feel like that's way too short for a third-person game. But, I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, it's a story-driven game. It's truly a story-driven game. My worst fear about the game was it being exactly like The Order, and people want to compare it to The Order. And I say to myself, you're comparing it to The Order, but the one thing that you're missing about The Order was that The Order probably has less gameplay than Quantum Break, and there were sections where you just walked around. You didn't even interact with anything. You didn't fight anything. You didn't kill anything. You just walked around. So, again, there was nothing ever spoken about that. The game probably is short. Who knows? I don't know. But I think from our guy's review, what he told me is that the game is a really good game. He really enjoyed the game. I'm looking forward to it. And I think everybody else should look forward to it as well. These reviewers nowadays, man. And again, like I said, for all games, not just Xbox. Some of the PlayStation games get a bad rap. Some of the Nintendo games, not really Nintendo. Let's be honest here. Let's be honest here. Nintendo games don't get that bad of a rap. Like their first party titles, they don't really get that bad of a rap. Maybe like them offshoots like Mario Tennis or something like that. But the main entries is rare that they get like terrible reviews. But still, overall, man, I don't know what's going on this gen with reviewers. And then what's crazy is that it's all the big sites, like all the big sites gave it all, these great reviews, and all the small ones gave it these terrible. Like all these small, websites gave it terrible reviews, but they're all on Metacritic and things. And I cringe when people say, well, there's more hate for the game than there is positive, than there is positive reviews for it. I'm like, do you not understand how averages work? Because if you understood how averages work, one low score can kill an average by a lot. And I think a lot of people know that. A lot of people understand that. But a lot of people who don't, they just don't get it. So I say, listen, man, if you go to Metacritic, what you need to do is stop looking at the score and look at how many positive reviews there are, because there's a lot more positive reviews than there are negative reviews. And if you're a hardcore gamer like me and some of the guys that listen to the podcast and don't give a damn about reviews, don't care, man. Just pick up the game because you enjoy it. If you don't have an Xbox, pick it up on Windows 10. Support the game, support Remedy. Let's make sure that we're able to get a sequel out of this game because I think it has potential. And the great thing about sequels is that you can fix what you messed up in the first game. So I look forward to it when it comes out. I'm definitely excited for it. And I wish Remedy and Microsoft nothing but success with QB. So recently, Phil Spencer was on Game Informer talking about the Xbox 1.5, and I cannot get away from this subject. I'm telling you, I've been trying for weeks to get off this upgradable console stuff, man. I really have. I've given my opinion on it a lot of times already. I've already stated that I just want to be able to stop talking about it, but every time I try, they pull me back in, and now I'm back in again. So Phil Spencer was on Game Informer talking about how he does not believe in an Xbox 1.5. And all these websites are now running with the news that Microsoft is not coming out with an upgradable console, nor will Microsoft have any news on a new Xbox at E3. Now, my thing is this, okay? I'm not going to sit up here and predict what Microsoft is going to do. I'm not a psychic. I'm not going to sit up here and tell you that they have something coming when I don't, or do I? But what I will say is that if you think about Microsoft's history and when they first came out with the Xbox One, right? The reason why they didn't go with GDDR5 at the time was because it was too expensive. They couldn't afford it, and they didn't do it. PlayStation 3 was actually going to have 4 gigs of RAM, and they were going with I believe it was DDR3 as well. But then suddenly the price for GDDR5 dropped, and they purchased it, and they added an additional 4 gigs after news leaked about the original Xbox One. So they wound up getting the 8 gigs with GDDR5, and that has propelled them forward in the so-called console wars this generation, which has allowed them to have, the upper hand when it comes to resolution and frames per second, according to Digital Foundry, even though to me it's minuscule when it comes to games, gameplay, and story. But the reality of it is that it's had a significant impact on this generation when it comes to consoles and console sales. A lot of people still want to dwell on that opening reveal, but I think that if the console had not come out and always been looked at as a weaker counterpoint to the PlayStation 4, a lot of people wouldn't even be thinking about the initial reveal. They would have already moved on and picked it up. But the fact that, you have this stigma, latched onto the console, people still hold on to it, and it just doesn't help. So when Sony started talking about PlayStation 4K, I said to myself, this is interesting, and last week we spoke about 4K resolution. We spoke about 2K resolution, and I had a lot of people in the comment section hop in and give me some great advice on some of the things we were talking about. And first of all, I want to thank the people who joined the comment section, because again, listen, I'm not a tech whiz. I'm not going to act like I am. There are certain things that I know. There are certain things that I don't. I'm not a PC guy. I'm a console guy. I'm just keeping it real here. However, there's a lot of information that I learn, that I get from developers and executives at Microsoft. And that's great, because you know what? I get to learn things, and I'm able to express some of the things that these guys teach me to you. And I'm learning on the fly. So guys came out and told me that 2K is not feasible. That's just something that wouldn't work because of the simple fact that TVs don't go to 2K. They just don't. It's either 1080p or 4K. And someone said, what about upresing? I just don't think it would work. Not only that, one of the big things is that 4K gaming is just super expensive. It's super expensive now for PC. You could imagine what it would be like on consoles. And then on top of that, another thing that someone noted was that the heat to run the games at 4K would be an issue for consoles as well. Ventilation and things like that, especially the PlayStation with the power brick inside. So there's a few things where it's like it wouldn't work. But of course, that's not what they're talking about. For PlayStation, they're talking about 4K streaming, mainly of TV episodes and streaming maybe 4K Netflix, because I know Netflix has 4K and things like that, and as well as up-resing the 4K from 1080. And people think that if they do come out with this 4K console, that they'll only come out with the same specs and then have 4K. But I'm saying to myself, if you're coming out with a PlayStation 4 that streams in 4K, why would you still put the same tech that's giving you sub 1080p games? Wouldn't you want to fix that issue while you can, so that way all games run at 1080p as consistently as possible? I mean, that's not a significant upgrade, but it's an upgrade that would be significant enough, especially if everything was at 1080p 60. Now, on the Phil Spencer side of things, he said that he doesn't believe in an Xbox 1.5. And people think that he's backing away from the upgrade talk. That's not what he's saying. What he's saying is, if he's going to go big, he's going to go big or go home. There's not going to be an incremental upgrade. There's going to be a big upgrade. And I had a great conversation today on Twitter about that. And one of the things that some of the guys on Twitter brought up was that, if Microsoft was going to come out with an Xbox that did 4K streaming, it would make sense for them to come out with it in 2 years. But I don't know if in 2 years that's still feasible. It at least be affordable for the average consumer. I don't know because look, how many people today in the PC world are gaming at 4K, let alone is able to afford a card that can do 4K. And my understanding is that the numbers are very, very small. I think we as gamers in the gaming media, and really just a lot of, I guess you could say, comment section cowboys, just overtalk, maybe overtalk a little bit too much, because everybody's not gaming at 4K. 4K is not a standard. We want to make it seem like it is, but it's not. It's not a standard currently for games. There are a few games out there that do it, but the majority of games still just trying to hit 1080p. 1080p is a standard for PC, and it should have been a standard for consoles, but it's not. So with that being said, for the Xbox, what they're trying to do is go big. Now, the thing is if you go big, how big do you go? What do you consider big? That I don't know. Now, I said some stuff on Twitter about E3. And the thing that I said was, what if I told you that Microsoft will announce something at E3 that's equivalent to what Sony is presenting with the PS4K? And everybody was like, nah, that's not going to happen. I don't believe you, or that's stupid. Or some people was like, yeah, I'm all for it. I hope they do. Where's my pre-order? And things like that. Now, obviously, I can't tell you what I know. And a lot of people are like, well, Phil Spencer already debunked that in Game Informer. Why would he even talk about announcing something in Game Informer, of all things? Remember, as we go back to how Sony figured out what they were doing with their console and how they were able to overlap them, I don't think Phil would want to take that chance again. I don't think they would want to, like, if they have something secretly in the works, I don't think they would want to then turn around and announce that they're actually working on something. So now all of a sudden people can spy and figure out what it is. I don't think they just turn around and say, think about this for 1 second, right? This whole generation, including myself, We've been going on the word of what Microsoft has been saying, right? But in every instance that they have said something, they've done the opposite. Am I right? Am I right? Okay. Remember, Quantum Break was exclusive to Xbox One. They only cared about Xbox One. Now we have Windows 10 and everything is going to Windows 10 PC and Quantum Break is going on there. And I'm hearing rumors about Gears going on there. Recore is on there. There was a lot of talk about Microsoft and its exclusives, but things change. As Xbox fans, and especially the hardcore guys, wanted to use those games as bullet points in the console war. Well, we have this, we have this. Now you no longer can't. So what do you have to do? The only thing you can do is say that at least those games are still only on the Xbox One platform, right? And a lot of people were upset because they felt like Phil betrayed them. But the reality of it is that a lot of those things changed because they happened on the fly. The thing about Quantum Break, what people don't know was that they didn't know if Quantum Break was going to actually be able to be on PC at the time. But because of the X12, they was able to port it over. They were able to optimize it, and it made it to PC. And that's why they announced it. I don't think Microsoft, if they are working on a new console, would just come out right now and say so. Why would they? Why in the hell would they? If you go Google, I want to say sometime last year, Microsoft, maybe not even last year, maybe a little bit before that, Microsoft has actually looking for a super designer. I remember because we spoke about it on the podcast. And I'm pretty sure they found their super designer for their next console. This was a year ago. This was last year when they were looking for this super designer. Look it up. I swear to God, it's in Google. Look for Microsoft, search Microsoft's looking for a super designer for their next Xbox. And I guarantee you'll find some news for some type of designer. Now, it's early in the generation, super early in the generation, right? Why the hell would they be starting to, don't get me wrong. Yes, you get your schematics and things like that, but why so early? You just released a console less than a year ago. Not now, but when they went to go get the super designer, it was less than a year. Now we're talking about upgradable hardware. Why would Phil bring that up? Why? PS4 is talking about upgradable hardware, coming out with a PS4K for 4K streaming. I know a lot of people are like, but it's only streaming. But I'm just saying, if I'm going to drop a console that has the capability to stream 4K games and I have an opportunity to fix some of the things that I have wrong with the console while still staying around the same price point, why wouldn't I? They can do that. They can. And it's possible that they can do that. So my thing is, I think that they do have something. Microsoft has something. Clearly, they do. If you don't believe they do, you're fooling yourself. They have something. I said this before. There's no possible way Microsoft can be caught with their pants down if Sony comes out with a new console that does 4K resolution for streaming. Everybody would buy it. Anybody with a first of all, it's a device that has a 4K Blu-ray player. You know how many people bought PlayStation 3s just for Blu-ray, period? Like not even for the console to play games, but just to have a Blu-ray. Then it has the ability to play games on top of it. People would eat it up. People would buy it. I know people are denying it, but they would buy it. They would. As soon as GameStop says come in and trade your PlayStation 4 for $200 and get the PS4K for $200, people will buy it, man. That's just how human beings work. I know people feel like they don't, but that's just how human beings work. So people will eat it up. They would pick it up. They would buy it, man. And I feel the same way for the Xbox. Everyone who denies that they don't want to buy out or they would feel betrayed or it's not console gaming, you would get over it. You would get over it pretty quickly once you start to see what's being played on it and how you can get it at a cheaper price when all of a sudden you just got paid on Friday. Like, keep it real, man. Like, it's all great when things aren't presented in front of you. Like, when you don't see something and you don't have any evidence of anything, and you don't see what actually is being presented, you can talk all the negativity or talk about what you won't do. But as soon as you see what's actually in front of you, what's being presented and how it looks and how better it is, you're going to start thinking about, what could I trade in? What could I save? Maybe I should do this. Maybe I should do that, especially the hardcore, because that's what we do. We always want the best. So again, I truly believe that they have something. They do. And when I was speaking on Twitter, no, I'm being honest. No, somebody said something to me. I obviously listen. I know what you're saying. Well, why don't you tell us? I can't. You already know I can't. But at least I'm being nice enough to like leave some hints that there's supposed to be something happening at E3 that's big, and things like that. There's a few people out there that kind of know what I'm talking about, that I've been talking to, that I trust. But look, the reality of it is that I believe that they have something. I don't know what it is, but if Phil is talking about going big, where it's like making major changes, what type of major changes could they make? I'll tell you right now, if Microsoft came out with a console and it did 1080p 60, that's big. That's a big change. I don't care what none of y'all are talking about. That's a huge change. That's a humongous change for the Xbox. Well, and I also think that, he probably wouldn't call it Xbox 1.5 or whatever it is they want to call it. It will probably be an entirely new name. Xbox something. I feel like Xbox 10 works. I was talking to Jez. You guys know Jez. He's been on the show plenty of times from Windows Central. I always felt like Xbox 10 works. You might as well put a 10 behind it since everything is Windows 10. So why not do it? So, man, that's the situation. I think that Microsoft is really trying to bait and switch. They are definitely trying to bait and switch. They are definitely trying to present one thing and then at the same time probably present us with something else when it comes to E3. They may not show anything at all. They may say, hey, we're working on this project, or, this is what's coming out in the future. I don't know, but I know that there's something. I can tell you that much. Based on a few conversations that I had, a few DMs that I've had, there's something, and it's coming soon. It is definitely coming soon. So it's definitely something that everyone should be excited about. And I'm excited about it as well. I can't wait for E3. I can't wait to go back. Me and B Money will be heading down in this year. Unfortunately, half our team won't be able to make it. But we're going to do our best to get you the best news. And I will definitely be doing another tech experience for you guys out there who have never been to E3 and would like to see it. I will definitely be doing that for you guys because I know that you guys enjoyed it. I know it seemed a little long, but I gave you 2 episodes. I gave you one with nothing but interviews, and I gave you one where I'm walking around the entire arena, and you get a chance to see the showroom floor. You get to see the games. You get to see how everything is set up. So definitely, check out those 2 this year at E3 when I get back. We're going to be trying to get there early for the Xbox fan experience. We got invited to the Bethesda conference, so we'll try to get into that. EA is on a Saturday. Microsoft's is usually Monday. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is usually E3, finally ending on Friday, which we'll probably be back home, which is, when we'll probably be able to present all these videos and information that we have, because it's really hard to upload stuff in a hotel or for hotel Wi-Fi. It's not going to happen. It's not feasible. It's just something that's just it's definitely not going to happen. So recently, one of my favorite games of last generation was Mass Effect Andromeda. And what I'm hearing about this is that, in the old Mass Effect, when you played as Shepard, which, by the way, I just hate the end of Mass Effect 3. Mass Effect 3 to me, I don't even want to talk about it. Mass Effect 3 to me was a good game until the end. It really was. And I know they tried to fix it with whatever little DLC and then they try to put it in, but there's no reason. And this is a spoiler. Okay, if you haven't played Mass Effect 3, if you're still waiting for it to hit BC, if you haven't played it, I don't know what you're waiting for. But at the end of 3, and I'm going to say again, it's a spoiler. I'm giving you plenty of time to mute. At the end of 3, Shepard dies. You have to make a decision. Whatever the decision is that you make, you die. It's called crazy ending after doing so much work for 3 entire games, and this man does not live happily ever after with one of the chicks that he got hooked up with. Just one of the chicks, you know what I'm saying? Just any one of them, it sucks, man. It sucked. I hated the fact that he took an L at the end of 3. But I still love the Mass Effect series, so I'm looking forward to Mass Effect Andromeda. Now, my understanding with Mass Effect Andromeda is that in Mass Effect Andromeda, you actually are playing the invading party. You're traveling from world to world, and you're trying to colonize civilizations. And in this game, the aliens in the worlds that you're trying to colonize don't take kindly to that. And you wind up causing confrontations and conflicts and things like that. But what happened was last night, they leaked some video sequences of the game. The game is gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous, but it looks exactly like Mass Effect. I mean, it's not like leaps and bounds, but of course, that's YouTube video compression. You guys already know the situation, but it did look really good, and it looked like Mass Effect. It seems I keep about to say Shepard. It seems the new character has the ability to platform. He has a rocket pack on his back. He can shoot himself in the air. It looks like Rex from Mass Effect 2 and 3 is in the game. And he does something to the new character, or it may not be Rex. It could just be one of his species. I don't know. But the game seemed really interesting. It got me hyped. It got me excited. I just hope they don't mess it up. I really do. I have a lot of faith in BioWare. Is one of my favorite video game developers. And I really hope they do not mess this game up, because if they did, I would be sorely, sorely upset. I'm really looking forward to Mass Effect. I was kind of upset that it actually even got pushed. But you know what, man? I think that whatever time they need to make this game right, let them take it. The original writer, if you guys don't know, for Mass Effect, Casey Hudson, actually works now for Microsoft. So I don't know who they have now as a writer. But whoever they are, I really hope they're just as good as Casey. And I hope Casey's working on something at Microsoft for us exclusively. Not no HoloLens crap either. Like an actual game for Microsoft, like an actual exclusive that's coming out on the Xbox One. I would love to get a game from him just to hear, what he has in store for the future for Xbox. But yeah, man, they pulled that video. They pulled the Mass Effect video. So it's no longer there. I don't know if it's still out there in the wild, but it looked great. It was interesting. Mass Effect Andromeda is going to be something completely different, a step away from Shepard. I'm just trying to figure out how are they traveling, because I know at the end of 3, spoiler, all the Mass Effect fields were destroyed. So, yeah, I'm trying to figure that out. Unless they started adding Mass Effect warp drives to their ships, which would be crazy. I don't know, man. I'm just hyped. I'm excited for this game. I'm looking forward to it. I hope it really is all that it is promised to be. So, Gears 4 has been in the news a lot. And they've introduced a new enemy called the Swarm. The main character now is Marcus' son. And it looks completely different from any Gears of War that we've played. And I don't mean like graphically or environment-wise or just overall the feel of the game. I'm just saying that it just doesn't seem like it's a wartime type game where it was like you had Marcus and Don and Cole and Barrett and things like that. And those guys, you knew that was the team. Like that was that, Delta Squad. That was the team. And they were at war. I'm not saying that can't happen, but a lot of the images they show of the characters and stuff like that, it almost seems like guerrilla warfare. Like maybe there's pockets of resistance out there, and they're still fighting small incursions here and there. I don't know, man, but graphically, this game looks impressive. It looks impressive. It really does. And, these guys came out saying that the game would be 1080p, 30 frames per second for the campaign. And the game looks that gorgeous. It just goes to show you, man. I just think certain engines work really well with the Xbox One, and certain engines just don't. That Frostbite engine, that thing is like the Ebola virus to the Xbox One. Like anything that touches the Xbox One with the Frostbite engine turns to 720p immediately, but Unreal Engine, DX12, and Xbox is like a perfect marriage. It works really, really well with the Xbox One. And I know a lot of the tools from DX12 revolve around Unreal Engine 4. So that could be a reason why it does that. And they also had a very, very long time to work on Gears of War 4. But Gears of War 4 looks very impressive. Now, they stated that the multiplayer will be 60 frames per second. They did not give a resolution. I do not expect the multiplayer to be 1080p. I don't. I just don't. It will probably be 900, which would be phenomenal. And even if it was 720, I wouldn't really care. As long as I get the Gears feel back, and you can have some of the older characters as playable characters and multiplayer and things like that, and you still have that feel with the shoddy and the wall bounce, and they take it back to like old school Gears 2. I used to love Gears 2 multiplayer, man. Gears 2 multiplayer was my jump off. They take it back old school Gears, man. They got a hit, and I think that Microsoft is doing right, man. They're doing great. Gears is a great setup. I can't wait to see what ReCore look like. I can't wait to see what Sea of Thieves look like, man. They had a teaser recently for Sea of Thieves, and it just was showing water. Have you ever been hyped for water? I've never been hyped for water until I saw the Sea of Thieves little skit for water. That was insane. That was hot. I mean, I like the overall feel that they're going with. It's like not realistic. You know how Rare does, but that water, they have some of the best water effects I've ever seen in any game. They really do. So I'm really looking forward to the game. I'm going to start my own pirate crew. I'm going to recruit some of you listeners out there to join the Tick Podcast pirate crew. And I'm going to have obviously another crew for my core clan and things like that. But yeah, man, Gears 4 going to be real interesting this gen. It's definitely highly anticipated. I don't know what else they have coming. I mean, clearly we've been hearing a lot about Forza Horizon 3. There's a lot of Forzas out there. I don't know how true that is. There was like a leak a couple weeks ago about Forza Horizon 3, but I've been hearing that it's just mainly just was a rumor. Somebody had made it up. It wasn't anything that was significant. Now, if the guys over at Playground are working on Forza Horizon 3, I would hope that they picked a locale that really gave you the feeling of like street racing, that feel that it was like, because it's open world and things like that. I don't know a lot of places where you can go, like, South Europe was great because you had a lot of open land and there was a lot of, I guess you could say, fields and wineries that you can drive through and stuff. So that was great. So I would assume that they would do the same thing. So I guess they may want to go the same route with open land. But man, I just want a game that just feels like Project Gotham, man. Street racing. I know you got Need for Speed, but Need for Speed don't do it for me no more, bro. It just doesn't. It doesn't. I tried the last Need for Speed. It was cool. It just doesn't do it for me anymore. Like Need for Speed has lost me now. Like it doesn't do it for me. I just want something that gives me that feel like Project Gotham or Underground or Dub Edition, just neon lights, nitrous, open roads, just flying down, making drift turns and stuff like that. And I just want that feeling back, I just don't get that from Need for Speed anymore. And I know Forza, you have Forza, the regular Forza Motorsport, which it doesn't give you that feeling. It's more technical. And you have Forza Horizon, which I think Forza Horizon is an amazing series. I love Forza Horizon 2. It's one of my favorite races of all time. But I still just would want something that gave me that feel of that sense of speed and that sense of adrenaline in a race on tight corners and using, being able to drift and just make your car sparkle and shine with like all these different designs and things that you put on the car. Like I really miss that. I just don't get that from Need for Speed anymore. So we'll see what happens, man, with Playground and what they have coming out, if they have anything coming out. And there's supposed to be some more stuff happening at E3 this year that's going to be really big with Microsoft and really big announcements that's coming. So you guys stay tuned to that, man. Again, Super Pod Shots will be every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Tick Podcast will be Fridays at 6 p.m. We are currently working on Tick UK, and we are also working on the commission show for those of you out there who appreciate that show, getting other gamers from other platforms on and getting a chance to talk about the industry and gaming as a whole. We are making some major moves this month for TICGN. We just got the new logo in. When you see this logo, you guys are going to be whoa, like, whoa, because the logo was fire. It is hot and it is different. We are going for a different feel, man. We're talking about elite, the elite of Xbox rocking with Tick Podcasts. And of course, listen, TICGN is going to be making some changes. We're going to have forums. We're going to have the ability for you guys to make your own reviews, so that way you don't have to worry about the BS of other reviewers and things like that. And I know I said this early on. I wasn't able to meet the expectations I wanted to, but now I'm able to. The Twitch stream team, if you guys don't get a chance to check out the Twitch stream team, go to twitch.tv/tick. TIC_podcast. Make sure you subscribe there. We do a lot of giveaways on there. We got a nice little squad that stream weekly of games, new games that we get from developers, as well as games that's already out as well. Really great people to chat with. They don't hide their faces. They're very open. And, they stream late. They do stream late, sometimes 5, sometimes 9, sometimes 11, but they're always streaming Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays. Definitely check them out on there. We're doing it big, man. We are making some moves. If you guys don't know, once again, we have an app. If you have Windows 10, go to the Windows 10 store and download the TICGN app. If you have the app, you don't even have to come to YouTube. You can just open up the app and listen to a podcast right there in the app. If you want the latest news on Xbox and what's happening with multi-platform games in the industry, what's happening with TVs and movies, what's happening with PC, just open up the app and it's all there. Yes, the TICGN.com app. It does do everything that we wanted to do right now. However, we are working on a UWP app, and I just got a head nod from Phil Spencer that he thinks it would be really cool to see Tick Podcast on Xbox One. So we are working on that to get our app on the Xbox One and be one of the first community-focused podcasts to be on Xbox One. And I think that's really awesome. And that's all because of you guys and all the support you give us and things like that. Really grateful for all the support. So that's it for our show this week, man. We will be back, or I will be back next week, Wednesday, again at 9 p.m. I'm trying to set it up so that way the people who listen to the show, when you want to come check it out live, you want to join the chat, you want to just ask me a few questions, you want to hang out with me, you can. I'm going to figure out how I can continue to make Tick Podcasts live on Fridays. Try to do that over Skype so that way you guys can hang with the whole entire crew, as well as get you guys used to Tick UK, which is coming out. Now, for those of you who don't know what Tick UK is, I just want to very quickly let you know, Tick UK is different from Tick Podcast. Tick UK has a heavy focus on gaming, movies, and TV. The people who run this show and will be doing the show is Alice, who's from the UK, and James, who's from the UK. And they both run our entertainment section, but they both actually have Xboxes. They both have PlayStations, and they are just big time gamers as well. So it's going to be something different, but it's going to have a UK feel. And I'm proud of that, man. I have a lot of UK fans, and I want to give, the guys over in Europe a little feel of home and things like that, because I'm really grateful for all my European fans. I'm really grateful for all my fans from Spain, all my fans from Russia and around the world. I really appreciate everybody. So I definitely wanted to do something for you guys. And if I ever get an opportunity to do a Latin Tick podcast where everything is in Spanish, I will do that as well, because I know I get a lot of people who request that as well, man. I care about everybody. I really do. So, again, we'll be back next week. That's it for our show. I'm your host, KORX Kal-El, the last on the planet Xbox, and I'm off this planet. Peace. All right, guys. So that's my new thing now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to record the show, end the show, and then we're going to do an after party. So if you guys have any questions for me, go ahead and ask the questions. I will be answering a few of them if you are still available, if you're still listening, and do the best that I can to my ability. If not, we'll end the show in 10 minutes, and I'll see you guys next week. So let me check out the comment section. Give me a few minutes or seconds, and we'll get started. All right, let's see what we got here. Let's see. Old school gamer asks, do I need any more Xbox podcasters? Well, when I spoke to the guys at Tick UK, I was trying to recruit more people from around the world, different part of the world, either a European person or someone from Eastern Europe or something like that. But the thing that the guys had said was that they just wanted to be able to have chemistry with whoever joins the podcast. So really what we're trying to do right now, we're just trying to have a few guests on, have them chat with them, and give their feedback on what they feel about the person who joined as a guest. And if they like them, then we'll go ahead and add them to the podcast. That's if the chemistry is right. If the chemistry is not right, then I probably doubt it. We'll probably just move on to somebody else if that's the case. Courtney Spence says, Kay, how can I get on your round table? Because I think my insight might add to the experience. The round table for what show? That's the question, Courtney. If it's for the commission, I'm always looking for people for the commission. That's a great place to start. If you have any experience with Nintendo or PlayStation, that's a good place to start. If you're interested in doing that show, hit me up on Twitter. If you have a Twitter account, follow me at tick_podcast or DM me at same thing, tick_podcast. And I'll try to get you added on to the next commission show. If you don't have Twitter, you can email me at admin, ADMIN at TICGN. ADMIN at TICGN, and I will go ahead and speak with you through email, and we can set something up to have you on the show. Oh, no doubt, Courtney. I understand, man. Yeah, listen, what's funny is that it's weird because there's a lot of Xbox fans out there, and I have to be careful a lot of times when I talk about Xbox. I get a lot of people who get on me about talking about other platforms. And I think they don't understand that I'm a gamer, man. I love Xbox. I do. I love the direction Microsoft is going. And I've become very cool with a lot of people from the executive side of things. And I've met a lot of people in the industry and a lot of people in the media. I've been gaining a lot of experience and trying to understand how this part of the business work, because what people don't understand about tech is that We are completely different from any other podcast. And I know people are like, no, you're not. You're just another podcast like everybody else on YouTube. But the thing is that I'm actually trying to change, or shall I say, I'm actually making my brand into a actual legit brand. A lot of people get on YouTube and they get an opportunity to talk, but they don't think about the bigger aspects of what they're doing, about they are actually creating content that they produce, content that is worth something to someone. And I've been thinking like that a lot lately. And I know a lot of fans out there really appreciate the show. I know a lot of fans out there love the show. And so I continue to do the show and try to make sure I provide you guys with great quality content, great news, great information, great interviews, if I can, to the best of my ability and things like that. But at the same time, I want to legitimate. I can't even pronounce the word. I want to legitimize myself. There we go. Legitimize. I want to legitimize myself. I want to be able to copyright and trademark my own logo, copyright and trademark my own name. When I get on, when we make this UWP app or we get on the Xbox, we'll have an opportunity to be, presented to 20 million Xbox users. I want to be able to own my own stuff. I don't want somebody else to use it. I don't want somebody else using my logo, my brand and everything like that. So yes, legitimize. Thank you, Courtney. But yeah, man. So, a lot of these guys, they don't really look at what they're presenting out there. And stuff like that. I want to be able to have my website be a legitimate website. I don't want to be a fan website forever and things like that. I want to be able to have my people benefit from what they're doing because they work hard to try to put something good together for the community, because there's so many, like you guys said in the comment section, you have all these reviewers out here, right? And you don't know who has an agenda. People always feel like, no, he reviewed the game, he just didn't like the game. But let's be honest. There are just some things as a person. These are people as a person you just like, that you just gravitate to. Is it right for a person who is a huge fan of PlayStation to review a game for Xbox? Do we really believe that they have the integrity to be honest? We don't know that. None of us know that. We just don't. We can only assume that is what they're doing because that's their job, But then you might look at one review and this person played favorites. And you might look at another review and call into question what this person was doing in the first place. So the one thing I always try to do, and the one thing that I like about what we do, is that we're gamers. We're gamers first. I had people that work for TICGN that don't even have Xboxes. A lot of people don't know that. They just have PlayStations, but they love gaming. They love being at the site. They love being able to talk about games, whether it's multi-platform, whether it's movies or TV. They like doing that. And I'm able to give them a platform that allows them to do that. So we try to be honest in whatever we do. You can look at a lot of our reviews. Like, we gave Cobalt a terrible review. Cobalt, which is an exclusive for the Xbox and Windows 10, that thing got a terrible review from us. Our reviewer just didn't like the game. And I like that honesty. Somebody said, why do we give Quantum Break 8.7 and not a 9? Because it was an 8.7, not a 9. Like, that's just being honest. I'm not going to buff up a score if it doesn't deserve the score. So I think that we try to bring some type of honesty, some legitimacy to what we do. I always hold Tick Podcast to a high standard. I was in the military. I was in the Air Force. So, I have a lot of integrity in anything that I do. And I think that being honest and open to the community is what has me in a position to continue to do what I'm doing. And I think the guys at Microsoft see that, they like that, and they expose me to some things, and they come on the show and they give me news that you wouldn't get anywhere else. That's just the God honest truth. I know a lot of people may not feel like it's the truth, but let's just be real. This, how many times, like literally you could Google Tick Podcast, or shall I say, let me not say Tick because they don't use Tick. You could Google the Inner Circle and IGN, GameSpot, Polygon, DualShockers, Joystick, and all the news that's related to us would pop up. You couldn't say that for anybody else. So, we really are working really hard to make this amazing community for the Xbox community. And I really hope everybody appreciates it. I really do. Working my ass off, man, for you guys. I really am. I really, really am. Let's see here. Old School Gamer says, I am all about games in general, mostly indie arcade games, but I play Wii U too. Hey, man, I respect you. I ain't playing no Wii U, though. I can't do it. My last Nintendo console was a GameCube. I hope the NX is a good system because I'm really on the fence between that and the PlayStation 4. If the PS4K is legitimate, I may pick up a PS4K. But the Nintendo NX is something that I am really leaning toward because I just want that Nintendo system. I was a big Super Nintendo fan. I stress this a lot. I talk about it a lot. I was a big Super Nintendo fan growing up as a kid in the 90s. And, Nintendo just has a special place in my heart. I don't have an issue with Mario. I don't have an issue with Donkey Kong. I don't have an issue with none of their first party IPs. What I have an issue with is that they have not grown up with me. That's the issue I have. It's only so much platforming I can do. There's only so much cuddly I can do. At some point, I need something mature from Nintendo to keep me entertained as an adult. And I'm not getting that. So that's why I lean towards Microsoft, because I think Microsoft provides that for me. The one thing Microsoft doesn't provide for me is obviously the JRPG, which is why I'm probably going to pick up a PS4 to get my fix, because I grew up on JRPGs. Chrono Trigger is my favorite game of all time. So I'm definitely going to, pick up either that or an NX. One of those consoles I'm going to be playing RPGs on. So I'm just hoping that the NX just goes in a different direction instead of just being so family-friendly focused and tries to finally join the ranks of the PlayStation and the Xbox brand and grow up a little bit. Let's see here. Well, that's it, man. I appreciate everybody stopping in and checking out the show this week. Hopefully, next week we will have a good turnout now that everything is, I guess you could say, scheduled, and people will be able to get a chance to check out the show. I really appreciate everybody stopping in. Keep an eye out for all our stuff coming up this month. I have a lot of big reveals happening, new logo, new website, and a lot of changes. So hopefully you guys enjoy what we present, and hopefully you guys are able to use it, spread the word, and continue to help and support Tick Podcast to grow. Thank you all. I really appreciate it. You guys have a good night. I'm your boy, KOR XKLL, the last son, and I'm off this planet. Peace.